The reality is that many Google grantees do not spend the full $10,000 per month. They want to, but they're not sure about how to get more quality clicks and conversions, and ultimately how to use this media for as much positive impact for their organization as possible. If you are in that situation, then thank you for being here, because in this video, you're going to learn some of the strategies and tactics that you might like to apply to position your ad grant for maximum success in 2023. These come to you on the back of a 4-month deep dive analysis into the top performing Google Ad Grant accounts in our client portfolio to really understand what's working right now and why, and what mistakes are happening and how do we avoid those. So you're going to get the key insights and resulting recommendations from that analysis, which is going to put you in a much better position to get more from your awesome Google Ad Grant. So if that sounds good, let's get started. Item number 1 is the selection of grant-friendly keywords. It's really important to know that Google puts ad grant ads underneath paid advertisers in the search results. What this effectively means is that if a grant advertiser is targeting a keyword and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different paid advertisers who are also competing for space in that search result, then that grantee's ad is going to be pushed down the page beneath all of those paid advertisers. Could be at the bottom of the page or could be on page 2. The consequences of an ad being pushed down or onto page 2 tend to be far less impressions, fewer clicks, fewer conversions, and ultimately much less impact. If your Google Ad Grant is targeting keywords that aren't generating impressions and clicks, then this is probably the reason why. So let's fix it. How do we do that? Well, we're going to change the way we choose keywords that get targeted with the grant. In particular, let's focus on finding those keywords that don't have high levels of advertiser competition so that your grant ads have the maximum chance of showing at the top of the search result, ideally in ad position 1, which is the best place for a grant ad to show. Now, the good news is that it's quite straightforward to find keywords where this is likely to happen. But before we jump into that, you need to see some real performance data. This graph shows you the distribution of clicks by advertiser competition level for a selection of our Google Ad Grants clients. So you can see that the majority of clicks here are coming from keywords with low advertiser competition at 62%. There are still clicks coming from medium and higher advertiser competition keywords, but they're rarer, more like a bonus. Perhaps in those cases, one of the paid advertisers ran out of budget for the day, which allowed the grant ad a limited chance to show higher in that search result. For additional context about these Google Grant accounts in the study, 5 are standard Google Grant accounts with a typical budget. One of those 5 was given extra spend from Google, so thank you, Google. And the other account, the 6th one, is a Grants Pro, which has a much higher monthly budget. The takeaway here is that your grant will generate a lot more impact when it targets the keywords with low advertiser competition, because that will allow your ads to appear in the most prominent parts of the search result for advertisers. Now, these low advertiser competition keywords, they are your grant-friendly keywords. A little acronym for remembering this is low advertiser competition keywords, LACK. They lack paid competitors, which gives you the most potential to show. Now, if this sounds good to you and you're wondering about how to find these keywords for your organization, let's get into that now. To find grant-friendly keywords for your organization, please navigate to Google Keyword Planner within Google Ads in the Tools menu. And once you're here, click, for example, Discover New Keywords. I'll start with a website for our purposes now. We'll click Get Results. Now, chances are you will see your initial results being average monthly search volume, perhaps some bid information. What we'd like to please enable is in the Columns menu, Modify Columns, Competition. This will tell you, keyword by keyword, the level of advertiser competition from low to medium to high. It will be the low advertiser competition keywords that you have the most chance of generating impressions and clicks with your Google Ad Grant for. You may be wondering, why is it that advertisers gravitate so heavily towards some keywords and so much less towards others? Might it be that the keywords with low advertiser competition just aren't really worth targeting? To answer this question is one of the keys to understanding the real value of your Google Ad grant. Paid advertisers want to generally see a fast return on investment. That makes sense. I agree. What this means is that paid advertisers put their budget behind keywords where the intent of that search is commercial or transactional. For example, a keyword like best charity to donate to will likely have ample paid advertisers. Where paid advertisers don't put their budget as much is when the keyword intent is more informational. These are keywords where the goal of the search is just to learn more about a topic without any of the commercial or transactional intent. The light bulb moment is to understand that somebody who's searching for information today can become that donor or volunteer or recipient of your services in the future. They're just earlier in their journey. So your Google Ad Grant provides you with up to $10K a month to reach these people doing these informational searches really before everybody else starts ferociously competing for them. That's a huge opportunity. Also, you will see that if looking at the search volumes, the informational search queries tend to be searched for much more than the commercial and transactional. Finally, it's important to know that if an organization reaches somebody effectively in that informational stage, that commercial or transactional search may never even happen because that person doesn't need to go back to Google looking for information. They know where they're going to get that information. They know exactly who they're going to go to. The next item for maximizing your Google Ad Grant has to do with landing pages and content. Specifically, if you want to target a keyword with your grant, your website must have a landing page with content about that particular keyword. If an advertiser tries to target keywords that they don't have content and landing pages for, then they're going to be swimming uphill against basically the entire Google Ads system. The opportunity then is to know that when you do discover a grant-friendly keyword that you want to target, you can. It just requires a proactive approach to creating content and landing pages for those visitors and for the Google Ads system. The Google Keyword Planner is terrific in this regard because you know what people are searching for. You know how often those searches are happening, and you know the level of advertiser competition, which signals whether or not you can promote that landing page with your grant, which is great for having confidence about what content and landing pages to create and how you're going to bring your visitors to them. If you build your site over time with high quality content and landing pages, your site becomes a much more desirable destination. You're able to get more of your grant spend away, and you may find that those pages you create also rank in the organic search results. So you're there in both parts of the search result when your audience searches, which will give you more visitors month after month after month. When it comes to creating content and landing pages for your grant, specifically for those informational intent searches which you will likely target the most, here is a checklist. First, reflect the keyword you're targeting so visitors know they're in the right place and so Google Ads considers you closely relevant for your ad quality. Second, produce content that satisfies the intent of the search, the so-called job to be done, the motive for that search. One method for doing this is to examine all the other competing results that are ranking for that keyword, whether in the ads component of the search result or the organic, and aim to create the best page of that bunch. The third is to invite the opt-in, which is the invitation for your audience to join your email list and social communities. Fourth, make it easy for the person to find related content to encourage the visitor to explore more of your site versus visiting a single page. You can do this by signposting your related content. And finally, if you do have a budget for paid advertising, ensure your remarketing and retargeting pixels are building your audiences so that you can serve follow-up advertising in the future. With remarketing and retargeting, only people who have been to your website before can see your ad, and we're going to talk about this later in the video as well. Now let's get into dynamic search ads, which I think are amazing. In your Google Ads account, there are campaigns, there are ad groups, there are ads, and there are keywords. this is your account structure, which essentially tells Google how to serve your ads. Top performing Google Ad Grant accounts, in my experience, have an account structure with campaigns serving three main purposes. The first are brand campaigns. So these are campaigns that target keywords about your brand. Now, the benefit to having a brand campaign is that you can show whatever messaging you like to people who are searching for you, which might be nice if you want to announce an appeal. And brand campaigns have a wonderful click-through rate. Next, generic campaigns. These are campaigns targeting those keywords that don't have a brand preference about your topic. We've talked quite a bit about surfacing these, the low advertiser competition generic keywords, for example. So we'll consider that covered. Now, the third, campaigns for dynamic search ads. So what are dynamic search ads? Well, in traditional search advertising, you would pick the keywords, you would write the ads, and you would specify the landing page. Dynamic search ads are a bit different. Rather than you picking the keywords, your job is to pick the landing pages. Google is going to pick the keywords. So whenever somebody does a search for one of the landing pages that your dynamic search ads are relevant to, Google can show your Google Ad Grant ad and send that visitor to the most appropriate page of the entire batch of landing pages for their search. Where this is really powerful is, let's say you have a resources section of your site where there are hundreds or maybe even like thousands of articles. Well, you could use dynamic search ads to send visitors to any one of those articles whenever that person uses a keyword relating to some of that content. And if there's continuously content being published to that section, well, that's going to be automatically scooped up as well. So dynamic search campaigns, dynamic search ads are a terrific way of scaling out the reach and picking up those keyword opportunities that you might not have thought about before. The reason for mentioning brand, generic, and dynamic is these three campaign purposes work really well together. One reason for that is the Google Ad Grants program policy requires you to maintain an average account-wide click-through rate of 5% or better, with some exceptions. If you're using brand as well as generic campaigns that are well targeted and well managed, you can also have dynamic search ads quite comfortably and meet your click-through rate requirement. In particular, the brand campaign will have a click-through rate of 20, 30, 40%, and that's going to lift your account-wide average, which gives you more leeway with things like dynamic search. Let's put some real data behind this to show the impact of dynamic search ads. Looking at January 2023 performance for 5 of our client Google Ad Grant accounts. Now, of these 5 accounts, 3 are standard grants with the 10K a month spend. 1 is a standard grant that was temporarily awarded some extra spend by Google, so thank you, Google. And 1 is a Grants Pro, which has more than 10K a month, 40K a month spend. So you can see here that the dynamic search ad spend and the dynamic search ad percentage is quite significant, especially for Grant Advertiser 1. Dynamic search ads are contributing 75% of the total spend for the grant account at $7,719. That's the kind of high outlier. The bottom of this list, Grant Advertiser 5, still has a DSA spend percentage of 18% at 707. Now, we can actually get more out of that in the future, so some optimization opportunities are on the horizon there. But even at 18%, it's still a sizable contribution. We're looking at here a range of 75 at the high and 18 at the low, which to me signals that dynamic search ads should absolutely be something you consider for getting more of your Google Ad Grant spend away, especially if you have ample content to send visitors to. If you don't have ample content to send visitors to, then dynamic search ads aren't going to be as potent for you. So please keep that in mind as well. The last item for today is using your Google Ad Grant to drive more high commitment conversion actions by having it be a part of a bigger channel strategy. Many people who see and click on your Google Ad Grant ads will be visiting you for the first time, particularly those people who are doing informational searches. Because these people are first-time visitors, it's less likely that they're going to be ready to take a high-commitment conversion action, like becoming a donor or signing up for your services or a volunteer, because they did just arrive after all. So while some people might convert right there and then, most probably won't. So what can we do about that? Well, if we put ourselves in the position of that first-time visitor for a moment, in order to move from a mindset of I just arrived through to I am now ready to take a high-commitment conversion action, we're going to need a substantial amount of information. Information about, for example, the problems that this organization solves and for who, why those problems are so important and why they're worth solving now, why these solutions to those problems are the right approach versus alternatives, perhaps some clarification of myths and misconceptions that hold people back. And finally, who are the people behind this organization? Why do they care so much about this? So there's a lot that needs to be communicated. Now, as marketers, we have to be realistic. Realistic in the sense that a first-time visitor isn't likely to be able to absorb all of this information, and chances are they'll only want to spend a minute or two on the site, view a couple of pages, and then depart. I would venture a guess that Google Analytics will back that claim up. So if that first visit is a short one, how are we going to communicate all of this important information to drive that high commitment action? Well, that is where we need to start thinking about other channels and create a re-engagement strategy. A re-engagement strategy has two jobs. It's to deliver the messages needed to move this audience forward towards the high commitment conversion action if it makes sense for those people. And it's to keep you top of mind over time. The art of the re-engagement strategy is to do this in a way that the audience welcomes, so it respects and it strengthens the relationship, it doesn't annoy them. Now, the channels that you can use really effectively for re-engagement are things like email, social, and retargeting ads. So these are the channels you want to bring in to accompany your Google Ad Grant. Talking about email and social first, these will depend on your visitor taking an action to opt in, so to join your email list and to follow you. A classic approach to building email subscribers is to offer something of value in exchange for joining the list. And usually there are many opportunities to do this. For example, if you are a service provider and you want more people to use your organization's services, you could offer a downloadable guide covering all the ways you help, how to navigate funding, and perhaps some step-by-step instructions for signing up and getting started. If your organization provides medical information about a particular condition, you could offer a guide about what to do if you or a family member has just been diagnosed. So if you've just been diagnosed, here's what you need to know. Here's what you need to do next. If you're looking to uplift donations, you might like to offer a guide about the problem your organization solves and the impact that donors have, and maybe tell some stories of the people whose lives have been changed. Once your audience joins your email list and has this asset, you are in a new stage of the relationship and you're able to communicate other important messages over time. And I think similarly with social, having prominent calls to action to bring people into your communities is a terrific way to stay top of mind when this person visits their favorite social networks. Which brings us now to retargeting ads. To clarify how retargeting ads work, a person visits your website, ad platforms track that visit. After the person departs your website, they are then retargetable with your ads as they browse the rest of the internet. Now, the main benefits here are that unlike email and social, your visitor doesn't have to opt in. They don't need to enter their email address. They just have to consent to tracking cookies, and then they can be retargeted. Also, because these people have been to your website before, they're a very high value audience. They've shown their interest in your topic and they're already familiar with your organization. Finally, I'd say the third benefit of retargeting is that a small budget tends to go a really long way. This is not a mass market campaign. These are just those past website visitors. So if you're comparing the value of the spend, reaching just this audience in this way tends to have very high impact per dollar spent. And in many cases, a couple of $100s per month is enough or more than enough. Now, that being said, there are a few downsides to retargeting ads that you should know about. The first one is that people do have to consent to tracking cookies. Otherwise, we shouldn't be retargeting them. The second one is you will need a separate budget beyond your Google Ad Grants because Google Ad Grant is for search only. This tends to be more display oriented, so separate budget required. Finally, there is a bit of setup work, getting pixels on the right pages and building those audiences. That being said, once everything is set up, your retargeting ads can join your email and join your social in delivering those important messages about how your organization helps, who it helps, while also giving you the ability to instantly communicate any appeals or special initiatives to all of your past website visitors in an instant. So for example, let's say somebody visits your website in January. In May, they may see a retargeting ad from you announcing your latest donation drive. So even though they haven't been to your site in a couple of months, they are still part of your retargeting audience, giving you the ability to communicate really important things as they happen specifically with those visitors. So when you combine retargeting ads with email, with social as part of your re-engagement strategy and use that in conjunction with your Google ads, you're in a much better position to maximize the value of each visitor by using each of these channels together in a way where one thing helps another, a bit like a little ecosystem, or if you will, a reef. We are at the end of today's video. If you have made it this far, you really are awesome. Thank you so much for your attention. I really hope that some of the content today helps you with your Google Ad Grant, whether that's picking grant-friendly keywords, the low advertiser competition keywords, taking a proactive approach to content and landing pages, introducing dynamic search ads into part of the mix, and pairing your Google Ad Grant with a re-engagement strategy to deliver those important messages to your visitors over time. If one of these ideas resonates with you, please feel free to mention it in the comments. If you'd like more videos like this in the future, please like and subscribe, and those can be on the way. And finally, if you want to have a chat about your Google Ad Grant to go over these ideas and perhaps discuss some other things as well, myself and the Reef team would be delighted. So please use the link in the description and we can get a time together in the calendar. Have an absolutely terrific day and thank you for the great work that you do. Bye.